Welcome back to Chamber Exchange, the TV show brought to you by Bank Hometown and St. Vincent Hospital. Really thrilled to have with us on the next segment one of my favorite Chamber member businesses, which is Simply Delicious Catering and Elms Cafe, and John Mauro and Denise Kapulka-Cariglia. Welcome, the owners.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks for having us.
before we get into some of the storyline here, before we came on live here, I was just commenting, I recently was asked to speak at the Mass Association of Vocational School Administrators and Career Technical Educators, and they do an annual event at Mechanics Hall. It's a statewide event where they recognize the top vocational technical students from 55 different Chapter 74 vocational technical programs, and over 500 people at Mechanics Hall. Simply Delicious catered it, and I've been to a lot of chicken dinners over the years. It was the best. So tell us about the menu that night.
Oh, thank you. We had an herb crusted chicken with mozzarella cheese on top of that, roasted vegetables. It was a family style meal for 500 to have the students' awards done. We actually had some of the students working in our kitchen and some of the students working on the floor with us.
Some of the voc tech students in culinary.
Students, yes.
So I did not know that. That even adds to the storyline. But tremendous meal, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it that night. But maybe we could kind of get into it. And John, you can start. What inspired Simply Delicious Catering?
I grew up in diners years ago with my grandfather, and I just always had a passion for food. I grew up in an Italian family, loved to cook, and just started from there. And then I went to school, and it was just something that I enjoyed because I got a satisfaction after somebody ate something or seen something. The wow effect, like, oh, that looked really cool, the way you present it, and or the taste. And so I just took off from there, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try catering because it was easier than actually running a restaurant. And so then we started the catering business, and we've done a lot of turns over 35 years. And to survive, it takes a lot of different strategies.
And a turn is a kind of a term of art in the catering culinary. What is a turn?
Well, you got to stay fresh all the time, and you can't keep doing the same thing. So we've had, I hate to bring up the COVID, but, that was a whole turn of us we had to go digital, where we weren't as much digital, but we were chefs trying to run a digital platform,
Yeah.
There was a lot of growing pains with that, and everything is computerized, and so you got to learn all that. So
people forget about that, about small businesses. When you're a small business owner, you deliver a good or a service, which you kind of do both. But then you've got to realize this HR, this technology.
Yeah.
You've got to be aware of state and federal laws and municipal licensing and permitting. There's a lot to it.
And they're constantly changing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's hopefully where your chamber helps by letting you know about that and being a resource. But Denise, we started the segment with talking about the event at Mechanics Hall, 500 plus people, but like the range of events that you do in terms of catering services, big, small, in between, how do people learn about what you provide?
We do a little of everything. We've done 20-person events at homes. We're doing one next weekend that's 20 people. They're going to bring it over to their company and just serve it there. We've done different company events that will bring in stations of food, whether it's an Italian buffet. We do plated meals. We do full service venues, whether we bring in staff that's going to help set up, help clean up. We do it all.
Right. And John, you kind of alluded to some of it in the last question, but some of the strategies that you've used, how do you build and maintain that customer base? I assume some of it is obvious. You do a good job and they want you back, but how do you but companies and organizations come and go, how do you kind of keep that base of business?
I'm constantly looking at new ways to do food and to change, and so I do a lot of education by that. I stick to the alumni at the Culinary and Arts that with school. They give you like a lot of different tips, and I read that, and you just try to stay ahead of it. And I think one of our specialties is really listening to the customer. We will always try to meet with the customer. If we can meet with the customer, we'll usually generate a bond and a trust, you know, and I think that's one of our biggest secrets. Just people are not a number, you know what I mean? We
Right.
build a relationship, and that's really what's helped us grow over the years.
Being a good listener and customer service.
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
like-
yeah. You just got to do things. Whether it's grab somebody's coat as they're coming in, even though we're a caterer, that's an extra service.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right. So, again, when we talked about the event at Mechanics Hall, Denise, you alluded to the fact that you had students involved, and some of the culinary students, I assume, from some of the local Voc Tech schools. I'm like a broken record on the show. The single biggest issue that we hear from our members, chamber member businesses, regardless of the size of the company or the sector they're in, is access to talent, staffing.
Yes.
And we preach that, look, you got to use our public schools, particularly our Voc Tech schools, as a resource. So tell us how you kind of handle your staffing and how you do involve young people, too.
We have amazing staff. We always did. Recently, we just took on about 10 of Struck's catering staff as well,
Okay.
since they've closed. But we've worked with the Voc students. Every year we do their event. We bring in their students to help us out. We also work with the Grafton Job Corps.
Yes.
So some of their students come and help us not only on events, but they'll come and help us
And the
at the
Grafton
cafe.
Job Corps got a whole culinary program
They
as
do.
well. And then the Voc Techs, not just only in culinary, but a lot of the Chapter 74 programs have hospitality, which
Right.
is what John was just talking about,
Right.
right? Take that,
Right.
how to make someone, feel welcome. There's a whole industry business sector that's important there.
Right, absolutely. So our staff is, like I said, they're amazing. They know that it's not just about the food, it's about the service as well. So you'll always hear people say, oh, the food was great, but your staff is amazing. And they really are. They've helped us grow, and we love all of them like they're our own family.
Right. So John, you mentioned that, the Culinary Institute, how you kind of try to keep fresh in ideas and presentations. With that, just as you watch the local food scene in Worcester, which is, I think, a good, as immigrant groups come and go, kind of new food offerings are available to the public. There's like fusion concepts where you blend maybe Italian with, some other, Korean. You see these food blending, which is really interesting. Where do you see things going in 5 years in terms of, catering and events?
That's a great question. And sometimes you can think so far out of the box that you are complicating your business.
Right.
And I think that's great to experiment with all those different infusions and tastes. Most people that are going to events that we cater, you're dealing with a lot of different audiences. People that are don't want to try,
That's not the time for experimentation.
yeah, you're right. So you kind of want to do something. So I find that we try to focus more on presentation
Yeah.
than, you know what I mean, and just try to stay in the middle, not to get too fancy that people don't know what they're eating, and because people eat with their eyes, and it's so true.
Yeah. So, Denise, we talked about some of the range. How do people get in touch? How can they learn? How can they begin a conversation, put together a nice food options for their events?
So they can give us a call at our cafe, which is 508-839-1911, or send us an email to simplydeliciouscatering@msn.com.
Yeah, and maybe we get probably 30 seconds left. The differentiator between Simply Catering and Elms Cafe, or because you mentioned cafe and you mentioned catering, so.
So we started the catering company first, and then about 7 years we purchased a cafe inside Tufts University in Grafton.
Yeah, okay.
So we are based there now, and then we're hoping to, at some point, move soon to a new location.
Got it.
Yeah, we got a lot of new things
A
coming
little
up.
teaser there, huh? A
Yeah.
little
Or
teaser. I'll have to
an
back-
added location,
An added
I should say.
location. All right, good. Well, John, Denise, thank you. And is your website?
Is Simply Delicious, I'm sorry, it's simplydcatering.com.
simplydcatering.com. John, Denise, thanks for being with us, and thanks for being such great partners and chamber members.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
All right, come back for our final segment. for an update on what's happening at the Chamber.
These days, you've got your hands full in life. That's why we help you bank simply and securely with tools like Face ID and Touch ID. It's why we make it easy to make purchases on the go and get cash back while you're at it. Why we help you quickly deposit checks wherever you are. And it's why we lend a hand with sending and receiving money right from your phone. So even when you're on the move, you can manage your finances. Bank Hometown. Unlock your potential.